This video is brought to you by America First Insight. Help support the growing conservative movement by becoming a member today. And if you want to support this channel, you can also use the code REAL when becoming a member. Thank you and enjoy the video. As everyone probably knows, there are upcoming elections in the Commonwealth of Virginia next month, and it is critical for the GOP to hold at least a couple of the statewide seats. Now, more than likely, they're not going to win the gubernatorial election, though it seems like Winsome Sears is picking up momentum, and she is doing a lot better than we thought she was going to do. I mean, seriously, we thought she was going to lose by like 25 points like 3 months ago. And yeah, she's still going to probably lose, but by a respectable margin. Like, Trump lost Virginia by like 6 points. It's probably going to be within that range, D+6, D+7, D+8, which, yeah, that's still kind of bad, but compared to what we thought was going to happen, it's actually kind of a decent performance by Winsome Sears, who is, relatively speaking, a weak candidate. But even before this Winsome Sears surge, which again, she's still going to lose, we always thought that Jason Myers, the Attorney General, he was always in the best position to win. Of all 3 statewide offices, we kind of thought that the Attorney General seat, which is very critical, was in a good position for the GOP to win. Well, after the last 72 hours, I think it's becoming clear that Jason Myers, he could still lose, I guess, but more than likely, he will win re-election, and possibly by a very decent margin, especially for Virginia standards. Now, Jay Jones is the Democrat nominee for Attorney General, and let's be honest here, even before the last 72 hours, this guy was always a very weak candidate. He was insane on the issues, he has really no legal experience, I guess, and his campaign has been horrendous. It's been an awful campaign, and Jason Myers is a very strong candidate. He's a good guy. He's doing a great job as Attorney General. And it seemed like it was going to be a very close race. But now, in the last 72 hours, I don't think it's going to be that close. Because we have learned a lot about Jay Jones. And it's bad. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say I have no clue why Democrats keep picking lunatics like this. But this guy might get absolutely obliterated next month. Now, we did talk with his first story a couple days ago where he was convicted of reckless driving after speeding at 116 miles per hour, which is just insane. And you hear more about what this case was about, and then you realize, oh, his punishment wasn't really a punishment. He paid like a $1,500 fine, and then he had to do quote-unquote community service. But the organizations he did the service for was his own political action committee, Meet Our Moment. He had to do 500 hours of work for them, which is his own organization. So this guy was recklessly driving, and he should be in jail, but he was effectively, he was off scot-free. And in fact, his punishment was actually helping his political career. Now, this is bad enough. I mean, like, seriously, dude. Why? Why do you drive 116 miles per hour? Why? That is insane. But everybody's kind of forgotten this story because in the last 24 hours, there was a bombshell report that was dropped by the National Review. And listen, most scandals we report on, like, most of the time, they're so absurd, we can laugh at them. They're so insane. Like Mark Robinson in North Carolina. That was such a batshit crazy story that you could laugh at it. Because, yeah, it was disgusting. But it's like, dude, are you serious? It was so absurd that it was funny. But, this scandal is different. This scandal is very different, especially post-Kirk assassination. Just look at this headline. Democrat AG nominee Jay Jones fantasized about shooting former Virginia GOP speaker. Yeah. This nutcase was fantasizing the idea of shooting a political opponent. Hold up. What? And by the way, this was 3 years ago, which doesn't make it any better. In fact, it makes it worse because you're telling me that Democrats in private have been saying shit like this for years now. And you read what was actually said, it was insane. Now, a little bit of context is this was when Republicans, they still had the state legislator in Virginia a couple of years ago, and the Republicans had a House Speaker, obviously. And Jay Jones was talking with a fellow delegate who was a Republican, I believe, which is just kind of weird. But you read what he said, and look at this, okay? Jones then suggested that presented with a hypothetical situation in which he only had 2 bullets and was faced with a choice of murdering then Speaker of the House Todd Gilbert or 2 dictators, he'd shoot Gilbert, quote-unquote, every time. Yeah. Look at this shit. Jones, 3 people, 2 bullets. Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. You know, some of the worst people in history. He is comparing them to a Speaker of the State House, okay, who is like a normie Republican. And he said, Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives bullets every time. This is real, by the way. This is not a bullshit story. It's real. And then there was some stuff beforehand that adds a little bit more context. They were talking about a former colleague that died or whatever, and they said this was about them honoring them, I guess, or something. And he says earlier that if those guys died before me, Jones wrote, I will go to their funerals to piss on their graves, to send them a wash and something. I mean, this is batshit crazy. And like his colleague was trying to talk him down, like, dude, hey, chill. And he says, no, okay. Like, this is not normal. And really, post-Kirk assassination makes you really wonder, how long have Democrats been saying this? Because this was back in 2022. 3 years ago, you had Democrats behind the scenes, elected officials, saying they want to kill their political opponents. What the hell? Listen, I disagree with Democrats on a lot of shit, right? And I think Biden was an awful president, but never in a million years would I say this. We gotta condemn all political violence. It doesn't matter, but like, seriously, what the hell? This is batshit crazy. But by some miracle, it gets even worse. And we'll get to his statement a little bit later, because it was also insane. But there was also some other stuff that was said, okay? And this was referred to his family, okay? And listen, this might be the most disgusting thing I've ever seen or heard. Coroners Alarm, who was the state legislator, and her former colleague's violent rhetoric towards Gilbert prompted Jones to call her and explain his reasoning over the phone. A source familiar with the exchange told the National Review. According to the source, the Democrat former legislator doubled down on the call, saying the only way public policy changes is when policymakers feel pain themselves, like the pain the parents feel when they watch their children die from gun violence. He asked her to provide counterexamples to disprove his claim. Then at one point, the source said, he suggested he wished Gilbert's wife could watch her own child die in her arms so that Gilbert might reconsider his political views, prompting Coroner to hang up the phone in disgust. Yeah. This is real. This nutjob said, I hope your family dies because you gotta change your political views. What the hell? What are we doing here? Rather than deny that he had wished death on the children, Jones responded by saying, yes, I've told you this before, only when people feel pain personally do they move on policy. Faced with more pushback from his frazzled former colleague, Jones somehow took the conversation a step further. I mean, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and they're breeding little fascists? Yes, he wrote, referring to Gilbert's wife and 2 young children. This might be the most disgusting thing I've ever read. And this is real, by the way. This is 100% real. It's not bullshit or whatever. This is going on. And you see the issue. You notice what he refers to them as? Little fascist. This is what the left thinks of you. It thinks of anybody they disagree with. They say, we gotta kill old fascists, we gotta punch a fascist, whatever. And then they refer to anybody they don't like, including their families now, as fascist. What does that sound like to you? If this was a serious country, Jay Jones would not only suspend his campaign and get universal condemnation, but he would be thrown in prison for this, for inciting violence, for saying this disgusting shit. And I know I don't like playing this game, but if this was a Republican that said this, we would all be condemning this nonsense, and this would be a 24/7 story from CNN, MSNBC, CBS, all these outlets. They would be saying this, the Republican Party wants to kill all their opponents, and we gotta stop them. Which, yeah, we should condemn all political violence or whatever, no matter who's saying it. But Democrats have basically said nothing about this. Like, look at Spanberger's statement, okay? She did put out a statement, and she said, after learning of these comments earlier today, I spoke frankly with Jay about my disgust with what he said and texted. I made clear to Jay that he must fully take responsibility for his words. What I've also made clear is that as a candidate and as the next governor of our Commonwealth, I will always condemn violent language in our politics. That's it. Not that we condemn him completely, he should drop out. No. They say, no, well, we don't like what he said. I spoke with him frankly. Okay? He must take responsibility. That's it. Nothing about dropping out, suspending his campaign, condemning this. Nothing. What the hell? This is a Democrat Party. They don't condemn shit on their own side. A quick reminder that Mark Robinson, who, again, that scandal was just insane, but basically about every Republican in North Carolina, they wanted him to drop out. Every single one of them was saying, drop out, dude. You can drop out right now. Just something. Which, yeah, he probably should have. But Democrats, meanwhile, none of them are saying anything. They're putting out these shitty statements saying, oh, he said some mean stuff. This is beyond just mean stuff. This is saying he wants to kill his political opponents and their families. And this was 3 years ago. This is 3 years ago that they're saying this shit. What do they think now? This is insane. And you can keep going because Jay Jones did put out a statement, and this statement is so batshit crazy. Just look at this. Like old people, I sent text messages I regret, and I believe that violent rhetoric has no place in our politics. Listen, people send some dumb shit. Yeah, that's true. Most people don't say, yeah, I gotta go kill somebody. That's what you said. 99% of people don't say that shit. Let's be clear about what is happening in the Attorney General race right now. Jason Miraz is dropping smears through Trump-controlled media organizations to assault my character and rescue his desperate campaign. This is a strategy that ensures Miraz will continue to be accountable to Donald Trump, not the people of Virginia. This race is about whether Trump can control Virginia or Virginians can control Virginia. Go to hell, dude. This right here, like, of everything you could have said, made it even worse. He's not saying I'm sorry. He's not saying, listen, I made a fuck up. I made a mistake. I'm sorry to Gilbert and his family. This is horrific. I gotta get help. Instead of saying something like that, he says, this was a smear campaign. He's playing the freaking victim. You're not the victim, dude. This is insane. Democrats are saying nothing. Jay Jones said, oh, this was a conspiracy with the Trump media. Dude, really? You said you want to kill your political opponents. I have no words for this. And Christian Hines brought up a really good point yesterday. We really need more people to start paying attention to what's happening in Virginia. This is becoming outrageous and is really emblematic of what is happening in the Democrat Party and its base at large. Democrats are deranged, dangerous, and issuing death threats against their Republican opponents. Gubernatorial nominee Abigail Spanberger is campaigning on Let Your Rage Fuel You. Attorney General nominee Jay Jones went batshit crazy. 2 Republican delegates in key swing districts are getting death threats from Democrats, saying they're planning to kill them and their children at their next political rally. And Democrats, they destroyed a large private Charlie Kirk memorial in Christian Hines' hometown a couple days ago. I mean, this is happening. And we're not even talking about the scandal in Fairfax or Loudoun counties, where Like, a bunch of transgender stuff is going crazy again. It's even worse than before. It's like every day there's another school where there's like a transgender lunatic running around. What the hell's going on here? Listen, I'm not a fan of Sears. I've been critical of her in the past. I think she's an awful candidate. But if you live in Virginia, you may not like Sears, you may not like Reed or whoever. You cannot vote for these people. These people can't even do the bare minimum in condemning violence. Listen, all violence should be condemned, no matter who's doing it. But one side is clearly pushing this shit way more than the other. Clearly, this is just Virginia. I mean, this is Virginia, which has the DC suburbs, which explains a lot. Listen, vote Republican up and down ballot in Virginia. Again, if you live in Virginia, go vote. Vote Republican no matter what. I'm not a fan of these Republicans, I get that. But do you really want Spanberger to be governor? Or hell, Jay Jones to be attorney general? What would he do as attorney general? Think about that. What would he do as attorney general of Virginia? Makes you really wonder. So, this scandal's horrific. And apparently the Republican Party of Virginia, they have something bad at Spanberger as well. And I guess Jay Jones again. It never ends. So this is a developing story, but my goodness. This is bad. This is really bad. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below. Subscribe, share with your friends. And of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.